Hi, this presentation is based on data from nuclearpower.com, which is a powerful source of information on physics and energy. In this presentation, we will tell you some information about energy storage. You will learn why we have to store energy. Then we will shortly discuss possible storage technologies. Finally, you will find out what is the difference between grid energy storage and long-term energy storage. But first, let's start with the role of energy in modern society. Energy is essential for most activities of modern society. Access to abundant, affordable, secure, safe, and clean energy is beneficial for humans. We use energy in the form of firewood, fossil fuels, and electricity to make life comfortable and convenient. Every product you have at home is most likely made of materials which were obtained from Earth using a lot of energy. At home, we use electricity for our lights and fans, water heaters and room heaters, ovens, microwaves, and washing machines. We use petrol, diesel, CNG for our cars, trucks, and buses. A large amount of energy is consumed in agriculture and industry. Humanity consumes enormous amounts of energy. Energy storage is probably the biggest challenge of transitioning to a low-carbon economy. But how do we store energy today? The answer is simple. Fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas, and oil serve as energy storage. Fossil fuels store ancient energy derived from sunlight by dead organisms. These organisms died, became buried, and were then converted into these fuels. The energy of fossil fuels can be stored simply in gas, oil, and coal storage in large quantities. For non-fossil sources, energy storage is really a challenge. It is necessary to divide energy storage into two following categories: grid energy storage and long-term seasonal energy storage. Grid energy storage is a collection of methods used for energy storage on a large scale within an electrical power grid. Long-term energy storage means shifting the storage time between charging and discharging by weeks or seasons. Especially for space heating for industry and residential sector. Problem is that the highest energy consumption is in autumn and winter, when there is little wind inland and little sun. We will first describe the issue of grid energy storage. For the electric grid, generation and power usage must be balanced across the entire grid because energy is consumed as it is produced. When the balance between power usage and power generation volume is lost, the frequency or voltage fluctuates, and the power quality of the power supply cannot be assured. This may cause damage to devices connected to the grid. In other words, the grid must somehow react to each light bulb being lit, and power plants must increase production. Currently, 50 Hz is the common frequency utilized in the majority of the world's electricity systems. In the US, the normal frequency is 60 Hz. This frequency is controlled within tight limits, typically within plus or minus 150 MHz in large networks. If the power usage rises, or the production of variable sources decreases, the grid frequency decreases. In fact, all rotating generators, synchronized with the grid, are slowed as well. From a frequency below 47.5 Hz are all power plants disconnected from the power grid, and then the network has to be rebuilt. This is the blackout scenario. The system has its own inertia. Energy is stored in the immediate short term by the rotational kinetic energy of the generators. With the move to more wind and photovoltaics, the inertia in the systems will be reduced. System inertia refers to the kinetic energy stored in large generators' rotating mass, such as those found in fossil fuel-based power plants. System inertia is vital for maintaining a stable frequency level. During the day, consumption changes very significantly. Electricity producers must react to these changes in consumption by immediately changing production. The grid regulator controls the changes. But only so-called controllable or dispatchable sources can be used for such purposes. Since these controllable sustainable sources can follow the grid load, they drastically reduce the demands of variable renewables on the transmission and energy storage systems. Renewable sources are among the so-called variable sources, or non-dispatchable. Renewable sources cannot or have limited ability to adjust their power output to match electricity demand. These resources not only cannot respond to changes in demand, but their production is also variable. Variable renewable energy sources are not dispatchable due to their fluctuating nature, such as wind power and solar power. When it's cloudy or the wind isn't blowing, the grid needs more energy from other sources. Characteristics of variable renewables include their unpredictability, variability, small size, low running costs, and the fact that they are constrained to a certain location. Moreover, the highest energy consumption for most countries is in autumn and winter, when there is little wind inland and little sun. These factors challenge grid operators that must ensure supply and demand are matched. Solutions include energy storage, demand response, availability of overcapacity, and sector coupling. The higher the share of these sources in the energy mix, the higher the transmission and energy storage systems demands. Without sufficient energy storage capacity, there may be power outages, and there will certainly be seasonal fluctuations in electricity prices. In the following slides, we summarize available grid storage technologies together with long-term energy storage systems. Grid storage technologies include flywheel energy storage systems, batteries, compressed air energy storage and pumped hydro energy storage. Their main purpose is to balance power generation and power usage across the entire grid because energy is consumed as it is produced. On the chart, you can see typical discharge time and storage capacities for different technologies. Let's start with the flywheel energy storage. Flywheels are kinetic energy storage devices that store energy in a rotating mass. Their structure consists of rotating cylinders connected to a motor that stores kinetic energy. The conversion of electric to kinetic energy is achieved through the use of a variable frequency motor or drive. Energy is stored by using the motor to accelerate the flywheel to higher velocities. The motor of the flywheel works to accelerate the unit to a higher velocity. Subsequently, it can draw electrical energy by slowing the unit down. The amount of stored energy is proportional to the flywheel's rotational speed square. The traditional flywheels are generally limited to a rotational speed of a few thousand revolutions per minute due to bearings and materials. It can distinguish between high-speed and low-speed flywheels according to the number of revolutions per minute. The high-speed flywheels have rotors made of fiber-reinforced plastic and can withstand speeds of more than 100,000 revolutions per minute. Low-speed flywheels have steel rotors at 10,000 revolutions per minute. Modern flywheel systems are made from carbon fiber and use magnetic bearings and a vacuum to minimize friction and drag. A flywheel energy storage system has many advantages, for it runs in a high vacuum environment and has no friction loss. Since it has small wind resistance, it has a cycle efficiency of 85% to 95%. Flywheels have a long lifespan, they are eco-friendly and free of maintenance. The flywheels can be charged and discharged rapidly, transferring a large amount of power in seconds with high efficiency. The largest commercially used flywheel provides around 1.6 megawatts for 10 seconds. High numbers of cycling will not cause degradation problems for flywheels. Therefore, the benefit of flywheels can be seen for a long service time scale. However, high self-discharge is a critical disadvantage of flywheels, which determines that they are not suitable for long-term energy storage like batteries. Battery storage is the fastest responding dispatchable source of power on grids, and it is used to stabilize grids, as battery storage can transition from standby to full power within milliseconds to deal with grid failures. At full rated power, battery storage power stations are generally designed to output for up to a few hours. Lithium-ion batteries are frequently discussed as a potential option for grid energy storage, although they are not yet cost competitive at scale. Lithium batteries show the largest market growth of all other batteries and have successfully displaced the competing systems. Lithium batteries provide multiple reversible transformations of chemical energy into electrical energy so that these batteries can be often used. Lithium-ion batteries, unlike conventional batteries, do not have a memory effect and achieve high efficiency of up to 90%. The problem with these batteries is their lifespan, which is typically defined as the number of full charge-discharge cycles to reach a failure threshold in terms of capacity loss or impedance rise. After 500 cycles, the capacity of lithium-ion batteries begins to drop, and the capacity is reduced to around 50% after 1200 to 1500 discharge cycles. One of the largest lithium battery storage plants in the world is the 48 megawatt, 12 megawatt-hours Gyeongsan substation in South Korea, which became operational in January 2016. Now, we will describe the technology based on air compression. In compressed air energy storage, surplus energy is used to compress air for subsequent electricity generation. In these facilities, the air is compressed and stored under high pressure in underground caverns. It is an alternative to pumped hydro since it has relatively high power output and storage capacity. When the demand for electricity is high, the stored air is heated, by heat recuperation or natural gas, expanded, and led through a turbine driving a generator, which is used for electricity production. Compressed air energy storage plants can take in the surplus energy output of renewable energy sources during times of energy overproduction. This stored energy can be used later when the demand for electricity increases or energy resource availability decreases. Compressing and decompressing air introduces energy losses, resulting in only 40 to 50% electric-to-electric efficiency. Finally, we are at the most important technology for storing electrical energy. Pumped storage hydroelectricity stores the potential energy of large amounts of water. Pumped hydro consists of two water reservoirs with a significant height difference between the lower and the upper reservoir. Reversible turbine generator assemblies act as both pumps and turbines. When the electricity supply exceeds the demand, pumps are used to pump the water from the lower reservoir to the upper reservoir, thereby increasing the water's potential energy. It can take in the surplus energy output of renewable energy sources during times of energy overproduction. This stored energy can be used later when the demand for electricity increases or energy resource availability decreases. When the electricity demand exceeds the supply, the potential energy is released from the water in the upper reservoir by allowing it to flow back to the lower reservoir. The water is then led through turbines that generate electricity, which is sent back to the main power grid. Worldwide, pumped storage hydroelectricity is the largest capacity form of active grid energy storage available. As of March 2012, the Electric Power Research Institute reports that pumped hydro accounts for more than 99% of bulk storage capacity worldwide, representing around 127,000 megawatts of installed power. Pumped hydro energy efficiency varies in practice between 70 and 80%. According to the Electric Power Research Institute, the installed cost for pumped storage hydropower varies between $1,700 and $5,100 per kilowatt, compared to $2,500 to $3,900 per kilowatt for lithium-ion batteries. Pumped hydro facilities can typically provide 10 hours of electricity, compared to about 6 hours for lithium-ion batteries. Despite these advantages, the challenge of these projects is that they are long-term investments. Permitting and construction can take 3 to 5 years. Moreover, large hydroelectric dams can't be built just anywhere. Hydro plants need a consistent supply of water and a large amount of land. Some countries have plenty of these resources, others do not. This is the list of available grid energy storage systems. Please note that the higher the share of variable sources in the energy mix, the higher the transmission and energy storage systems demands. Now we describe available long-term energy storage systems. But first, let's talk about why we deal with long-term energy storage. It's all about the fact that in addition to electricity we also have to provide energy for industry, transportation, and residential sectors. The problem is that the highest energy consumption is in autumn and winter when there is little wind inland and little sunday. In winter, daily energy consumption significantly exceeds daily consumption in summer or spring. As was written, fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas, and oil serve as energy storage. For non-fossil sources, energy storage is really a challenge. The only promising seasonal energy storage technology is known as the power-to-gas, and most power-to-gas systems use electrolysis to produce hydrogen. Power-to-gas is a technology that converts electricity to gaseous fuel such as hydrogen. This technology converts the electricity generated during periods of high output and low demand by splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis. The hydrogen is stored for future use as fuel, while the oxygen may be sold for industrial use or released into the atmosphere. Currently, this is the only promising seasonal energy storage technology. Moreover, power-to-gas can help the intermittent production of energy by renewables to be evened out throughout the year by providing them a controllable power load, enabling them to have a bigger energy share. There are 3 potential uses for the stored hydrogen. Using hydrogen gas directly in applications such as power generation or vehicle fuel. Feeding fuel cells by injecting hydrogen and either oxygen or air into the cell to produce electricity from the resulting chemical reaction. Combining the hydrogen with carbon dioxide to create synthetic methane, which could be used as a replacement for natural gas. Power-to-gas systems may be deployed as adjuncts to wind parks or solar electric generation. The excess power or off-peak power generated by wind generators or solar arrays may then be used months later to produce electrical power for the electrical grid. Power-to-gas allows energy from electricity to be stored and transported in the form of compressed gas, often using existing infrastructure for long-term transport and storage of natural gas. Power-to-gas conversion is a potential storage solution undergoing advanced study and approaching commercial application. The main disadvantage of this technology is the relatively low efficiency of the electricity-gas electricity conversion, which is caused by multiple energy conversions. In 2013, the round-trip efficiency of power-to-gas storage was well below 50%, with the hydrogen path being able to reach maximum efficiency of 43% and methane of 39% by using combined cycle power plants. The technology is being developed, but the other issue is the price for energy storage of the necessary capacity. As simple as it sounds, the real challenge is the capacity needed to supply energy for all sectors. Electricity generation, transportation, industry, and residential. We mostly talk about the share of low-carbon sources in power generation, which consumes only a third of fossil resources. Transportation, industry, and residential sectors consume about 2/3 of fossil resources. The transition of these sectors to low-carbon sources is based on the transition of these sectors to low-carbon power generation with sufficient energy storage. The higher the share of these sources in the energy mix, the higher the transmission and energy storage systems demands. Electricity generation has to triple or more to achieve a low-carbon economy. Let's point out the main conclusions of this presentation. It is necessary to divide energy storage into 2 categories: grid energy storage and long-term seasonal energy storage. Pumped hydroelectricity accounts for more than 99% of bulk storage capacity worldwide, representing around 127,000 megawatts of installed power. For grid energy storage, the higher the share of variable sources in the energy mix, the higher the transmission and energy storage systems demands. Daily energy storage does not pose a problem. The real challenge is energy storage to cover the whole year and seasons. Promising long-term energy storage is power-to-gas, which is a technology that converts electricity to gaseous fuel. We hope you have gained an insight into energy storage. If you want to know more, visit nuclearpower.com, and don't forget to subscribe.